Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, everybody, for being here. It's really true what Sam said. There's no better place that you can be right now. We're in a tremendous moment, and I'm going to be getting into that. I want to start with an announcement of a tremendous victory that we just found out today. In 2017, members of Refuse Fascism and the Revolution Club blocked the 101 freeway in Los Angeles to sound the alarm that a fascist regime was in the White House. And they had a big banner that said, Trump, Pence must go. And they were, one, modeling, showing the kind of courageous action that was necessary to stop this catastrophe for humanity. And they were also calling others out into the streets to demand the removal of this regime, a fascist regime. And we were calling for that removal at a time when we had not yet learned that there was concentration camps, but all the signs were there that this was a fascist regime that was going to actually institute a whole program based on white supremacy, xenophobia, and misogyny. And in 2017, there was a chance to stop it. We called people into the streets, and for this courageous action, the LA City Attorney's Office brought vengeful prosecutions and dragged these defendants into court for 3 years. And even after the LA City Attorney's Office kept losing, there were 2 trials that ended in a hung jury, 1 acquittal. They refused to drop the charges until today, when we got the news that all charges against the Freeway 9 have finally been dismissed. This is a huge victory for the people, for the right to dissent, and for anyone who wants to stand up for humanity. And I wanted to start here, and I think in the chat box, hopefully somebody will be posting a way for you to find out more and read the history of this case, because there are a lot of lessons in it. I'm not going to go into all that here, but I do think that it's important for people to see a few points out of this and to learn a little bit from this. One, our mission to drive out this fascist Trump-Pence regime through sustained nonviolent protests that grows to millions in the streets, that demands removal of the regime, that creates a political crisis, that then forces the ruling powers to make a decision and force out this regime, or force out Trump and then Pence, however it happens. This has been our mission from the beginning. And it is very important that what we said, what our analysis that we put forward and the strategy that we put forward has been borne out to be the right strategy. And what we have said is the problem has been borne out to be true. And these defendants refused to back down because they knew that what they were doing was necessary. So that's the first lesson. And it's a lesson for all of us in this movement and everyone who's coming in today. I hope there are a lot of new people, and I'm really glad that you're here. But this is a really important thing to keep in mind as we continue our presentation here, that what we are putting forward is based on a very careful analysis of what is actually happening, of reality. And we have not backed down from our mission. The defendants here held firm and insisted in court that they were right in taking these actions, and juries sided with them. And it has come to a situation where now the state has been forced to, at least for now, lay off of their repression of this movement. That's to say that what we have been putting forward was always necessary and it was always possible. but never has it been more within our reach than now, because in 2017, there was a missing ingredient that we have now. And that ingredient is that there are now masses in the streets who are aroused, who keep coming back into the streets, who are not backing down, just like these defendants, and who are increasingly seeing that Trump should go. And this is a very, very crucial beginning of something that can be very quickly transformed into something that could lead to even greater victories for the people. This is a moment to seize. For 3 years, our analysis of what we were facing that has been borne out to be true, but now we have a situation where over the last 3 weeks, people are coming into the streets over and over again. That tells us even more now of what's possible. Things that we thought were not possible, things that people thought were not possible back in February or the beginning of March. Now, you know, you look around and those things are possible. So what we have to do right now is to go out and tell people what they don't spontaneously know. And that is that this regime is a fascist regime, that they are not going to back down from what they want for the future of humanity or for the future of this country, which is to consolidate a fascist program that is Christian, theocratic, based on Mike Pence's Bible taken literally, that is instituting a virulent white supremacy that is rooted in the Confederacy, that is a nightmare for LGBT people and for women who are poised to lose their right to abortion. These are all things that they actually see as their last chance with Trump and Pence to do this, to hammer in this program that has been decades in the making. And this is a moment that we have to seize, because they are actually also going to seize the moment. So I'm going to go into this a little bit more here. What is this moment we are in that we keep talking about? We have this situation that in the last 3 weeks, there's tremendous hope from people flooding the streets, standing up for a very different set of values than the hate and bigotry of that people have normalized over the last 3 years of this regime. Then that hate and bigotry has actually not only been normalized, but fortified under the leadership of Trump and Pence. But now there's a situation where even though these protests did not start out as a repudiation of the Trump-Pence program, that has become a part of this movement for justice. There is tremendous hatred for what this regime represents that you can see right now in the streets. Now, facing this crisis on the other side is this regime that has actually been able to roll over most opposition since its inauguration. It had a few challenges with the Muslim ban, but was able to roll over it and be victorious. There is a Muslim ban now that affects millions of lives. It had a little bit of opposition over family separation. It rolled over that. There are now actually under COVID, they're separating families again and actually holding children hostage. You know, having parents give up their parental rights in order to save their children. They had some, you know, down the line of what Kavanaugh, there were protests, but they have been able to roll over most opposition. But this crisis that they're facing with these sustained protests that have not let up, that is not one that they could roll over easily. But they have to become victorious over it. They have a necessity to actually get through this crisis if they are to consolidate their power. And they have mainly done this through brute force and calling out the violence of the federal forces, whether it's at Lafayette Park, National Guard, the police, and the violence of their fascist base, their street thugs, what Trump called the bikers for Trump, but it's not just bikers, it's the armed militias, it's the Proud Boys, all these, the people who shot protesters who were trying to take down a statue in Arizona. There have been, very, very minuscule concessions. Mainly how they see getting through this moment is by bringing down the hammer and calling out even more violence and terror against the people. And this is why Trump had to restart his rallies, and why it is not an accident that he restarted his rallies in Tulsa, the site of one of the biggest mass killings of Black people, white supremacist mass killings of Black people on Juneteenth weekend. He backed down by one day, but if any of you saw that speech, what you see is somebody who is even more on a rampage, who is doubling down on this racism and this whole fascist program, and attacking any opposition, the Democrats, and what he calls Antifa, the radical left. All of that needs to be eliminated in his mind and in the mind of the regime. So that rally and this rally in Arizona is a continual escalation on the side of these fascists. And they are announcing, they are telling you they have no plans to back down. And they will come at us even more viciously and with even more determination. And what they're telling you is that they will not stop until they prevail. This is throwing down a heavy gauntlet to the people that we have to throw back, and we have to lead people in throwing that gauntlet back. And we must not stop, and we have to make it clear that we will not stop until we prevail in the name of humanity. Right now, you see that Trump is highlighting crimes of Black people against white people. This is straight out of Hitler's playbook. And his speeches in Tulsa and Arizona are not only replays of his previous attacks. They're far more cutthroat, they're far more desperate, they're far more threatening, and they're far more unhinged. And it's very clear what they are most afraid of is people in the streets. At the same time, there are other players in the regime who are playing a different role, and that role is to subvert all the norms and subvert all the normal channels and the rule of law, the separation of church and state, the separation of powers, which they've been doing for 3 years, but they've just confirmed the 200th federal judge with a lifetime appointment. This is all part of how the regime plans to consolidate their power and actually institute their program for a generation to come. So relying on, and we also cannot forget that Trump was impeached for hijacking and for sabotaging this election. They have made it clear, and Sarah will talk more about this, that they don't respect elections, and that the chance of a free and fair election and of Trump even stepping down if he loses is it's a very strong possibility that he won't, or that there may not even be elections because of COVID. So relying on the norms and the regular channels of the system is not going to solve this problem. And it is a profound and urgent problem. Trump, who is a very actually effective fascist leader. There's a whole fascist regime, and there's a whole movement of fanatical followers that are determined to completely change the way society and government have been run. And in this moment, we have to pose this question. to everyone who does not want a future of fascist revenge and terror, who does not want women to lose their right to control their own bodies, who does not want white supremacist mob rule. We have to pose this question: will you accept a fascist America? Will you stand aside hoping that politics as usual will remove a regime that is subverting elections and using organized violence from the military and the police in combination with terroristic street violence to crush dissent? Are you going to wait this out even further? See how many more lives are going to be on the line? Or are you going to bring our strength and contribute to our strength, which is being in the streets in huge numbers and staying in the streets until this demand, the Trump-Pence regime must go now, is met? Because the fact is that we can actually drive out this regime and cripple this fascist movement in the same way that tyrannical regimes all over the world are driven out. The people flood the streets day in, day out. The momentum grows, the number grows, and the demand is that the regime must go. And when people don't back down from that regime, that demand, the splits at the top intensify, the rulers try to find a resolution to it, and the leader and the regime is forced out. It has happened in Puerto Rico, it's happened in South Korea, it's happened in Egypt, it's happened in Tunisia. There are a whole list of countries where this has happened, and it is possible here. You are here to become part of this organizing force that is going to take this movement to the next level and take this struggle to the level where it needs to be, going all the way to driving out a white supremacist, brutally terroristic regime that is the most dangerous regime in the world right now, frankly, and a huge danger to the future of humanity and the planet. You are here to become part of that organizing force that will bring those millions forward to fulfill this mission, this necessary, urgent mission. And if we succeed, I want you to imagine what that will make possible for every struggle for justice. Every struggle for justice will be advanced. But if we should fail to see this through, not only will every struggle for justice be set back, these fascist forces will go out for revenge, and they will aim to destroy the ability of the people to stand up again. And we have to challenge everybody. What kind of future do you want? Are you willing to sacrifice the future of your children, of the children of the world, to some hope that the normal channels will resolve this? The hour is getting late, but it is still not too late if we go out with everything we have to make this mass mobilization a reality. And we must not stop until this is won. So I'm going to end my presentation there. I will have more to say later. I'm gonna pass it back to Sam. Thank you.